Some. How can it be?
Have you ever come across a person who is bleeding and profoundly to death, and you knew you couldn't do anything? In this case, a tourniquet could be used to probably save that person's life. Tourniquets can be very successful if used properly and if you follow the correct steps, but if you don't, that victim's life could be at more danger than it already was. A tourniquet can be used to stop the blood flow in that area, in the arms and the legs. First, before you try the tourniquet, you could try applying direct pressure to that area with your hands or with gloves on. And if that doesn't work, you could put a book or something on top to try to control the pressure of the blood. And if that's not possible, try to elevate the area above the heart so the blood flow slows down. And if that's not possible and nothing else works to try to save that victim's life, you would use a tourniquet. A tourniquet can be very dangerous, so it should be used as the last resort because the tourniquet starts to destroy cells in that area of the body. That's why you wouldn't use it around the hips or anything. Tourniquets could be used as the last resort, and they could be very difficult, but I'm going to show you 2 easy ways to do it. You can use a pen or some type, or you could use a tongue depressor or something shaped in a cylinder to help put the gauze in place. You could try you have to use some kind of fabric or clothing like gauze. Usually when emergencies strike, you won't be in a hospital, so it would be hard for you to get access to major things. So you could just use like a very strong stick if you're in the woods or something. And if you don't have gauze, you could just use some flimsy piece of fabric, or you could just rip some off of your shirt or part of your clothing to help the victim out. First, you would take the gauze and you would tie it in a half knot, which means just the first part. Let me show you again. The first part of tying a shoelace. So you would just go like this, and then once you've done that, you could use your pen or your tongue depressor, but most of the time people don't use them because they can easily break and destroy the whole process, which is the point of the tourniquet. After that, you would do another half knot, or you could do 2 knots, depending on whatever. But sometimes it could be hard for you the emergency people, to take it off afterwards. So you would take it and you would turn the pen. You could turn it counterclockwise or clockwise. It shouldn't really matter. And the pen will make sure that the gauze is secured in place so the blood will completely stop and there won't be a little bit of blood going to that area. Once you have done this, the blood flow should stop, and once you press the area, the skin should not turn back red. You would twist, and you would never take a tourniquet off, because if the blood flow from the area that's receiving it, if the blood flow rushes back, you could completely paralyze the victim. You would use a tourniquet and only as a last resort, and don't ever take it off because the emergency technician should be the one. In this case, I'm using scissors to cut it off, but you should never do that. And I'm going to show you another way. This one is very similar to the first one that I did. You would take the gauze that you have and you do a half knot, or you could use a full knot, but like I said before, it would be hard for the emergency technicians to take it off once they got to the scene. You would take it and you could do it double, and you see how there's a little amount of space in this area. This means that the blood flow will not completely stop. So you would take your pen or whatever you have on hand, and you would insert as much of it as you can in that area. Once you have, you just twist like you did before. This one is not very effective as the other one because the pen could be touching the blood, and if you have to help other victims, it could really hurt. It could spread some kind of HIV or anything around from person to person. Tourniquets, they could be simple, but they should never be used unless they necessarily have to be used. A pen or anything has to be put in place because without a pen, the human hand is almost impossible to twist it completely. And once you have done that, you never take it off, and it isn't very easy to take it off, which is a good thing because you should never do it. And once the emergency technician has arrived, they will they will start to check the patient and make sure that everything is okay before they take it off. And once you have done the tourniquet and you have twisted the pen in place, you could take some tape and you could tape it around that area. Let me show you. You could tape it around that area so the pen doesn't move, because the tourniquet could be completely destroyed and it wouldn't be very good for the person. Or you could get a walking wounded person if there's another person or another emergency person to help. A walking wounded is someone who is injured, minor to none, and they could get up and help you. So they could hold this in place while you go help another person. If you're in a place with a lot of trees and everything, it wouldn't be very difficult for you to find a lot of things to hold in place, like a pen. And if it's hard, then you shouldn't. If it's hard, then you have to use a thinner stick. In conclusion, you should never use a tourniquet unless it's necessary to help someone's life. Always make sure that you know what you're doing, because if you don't, then you could completely hurt the victim. I hope that since now you know how to do a tourniquet, you could understand and help a victim better. And remember to always never take the tourniquet off. And if you do, it could hurt the victim more than it had before.